Good morning, all my fellow ruddy, rosy-cheeked, rubicund patriots. You know the shield networks are having a hard time trying to find a plank for Uncle Joe to stand on. They can't talk about the economy without inflation and shortages and jobs. The border is a complete mess. Foreign policy, well, the less said about that, the better, right? Uncle Joe has shit his pants really hard on all these items. In fact, he shit his pants on the Wuhan flu too, but it's the only one that the American public is even giving him a half a pass on still, so they're going with it. Let's take a look at this headline from CNN. January will be a really hard month as Omicron variant fuels new infections, experts say. Now, let's go down and see how bad the scare tactic looks. A COVID 19 banner, people walking around with masks outside. Where else could it be but New York City? And take a look at the subheadline. COVID 19 cases among children as hospitals waiting on the edge. Well, you can go to any of these legacy media, these propaganda outlets, and see similar scare stories about the Wuhan flu. Now, except for the very last item, I'm not going to reference a national propaganda outlet again. So, here we are, my local. Take a look at this headline. You'll notice it's a top news story. Hawaii sees 1,384 new coronavirus cases, bringing the statewide total to 103,773. Hawaii figures that over the last 2 years, close to 104,000 residents have caught the Wuhan bug. Let's take a look at what this story really is all about. According to the latest information from the department's Hawaii COVID-19 data dashboard, a total of 101 patients with the Wuhan flu were in Hawaii hospitals as of today. Let's skip down a paragraph and go with health officials said today that of the state's total infection count, 13,966 cases were considered to be active. So the state has 13,966 cases, 101 of which were bad enough where they require hospitalization. Well, with that scary headline, I guess the state just doesn't have the hospital beds to support an outbreak of the Wuhan flu. Let's go to a trusted source. For the left, could there be a more trusted source than Wikipedia? Let us see how Wikipedia shows us how many beds are in the state of Hawaii. Hawaii has 6 major islands. Now, on the Big Island, $427 beds on the Big Island. Okay, Kauai is easier to add up. It has 197. Lanai is even easier to add up. It only has the one with 14 beds. Let's go on a little bit more. Maui, 342. Molokai, another sparsely inhabited island, they only have, 15 beds? Oahu. Now it's broken down into Honolulu and the rest of the island, and they have the rest of the island first. 568 for the rest of the island. Honolulu has 1,958. So on the island of Oahu, we have a total of 2,526 beds. In the entire state, we have 3,521 beds. Now, out of those 3,521 beds, a total of 101 are currently being used by people with the Wuhan flu. So it's not this dem panic that has the hospitals overflowing right now, is it? Let's go on with my final story of the day. I chose it because I found it entertaining. ABC. Officials. Nearly 25% of Navy warship crew has COVID-19. A U.S. Navy warship remains in port at Naval Station Guantanamo Bay in Cuba with about 24 sailors, or nearly a quarter of its crew, testing positive for the Wuhan flu, according to U.S. defense officials. Let's go on. A Navy official said roughly one-third of the Halsey crew tested positive for the Wuhan flu, and most had only mild symptoms or none at all. Robertson said the crew was nearly 100% vaccinated and no one was taken to the hospital. The Navy said in a statement Friday that the USS Milwaukee's crew was 100% immunized and that all those who tested positive for the Wuhan flu were being isolated on the ship and away from other crew members. According to the Navy statement, a portion of those infected are having mild symptoms, and the specific variant is not yet known. So this crew are having mild symptoms. Not a single one has been hospitalized. In fact, some of them are asymptomatic. They're having no distress from this thing at all. The captain of the ship, with an abundance of caution, pulled into the closest port. I'm assuming that's what he done, because Guantanamo Bay being in Cuba, well, it's not the port I would have chosen. I would have tried to get to Florida. I wouldn't want to have a sick crew pulling into a hostile country, because Cuba is not exactly friendly to the U.S. But like I said, this captain, out of an abundance of caution, pulled into what had to be the closest port. I would have kept on sailing, like I said. I would have pulled into a port in Florida or somewhere on the East Coast. I damn sure wouldn't have pulled into Cuba. It is the U.S. base, though, under U.S. control, but I still wouldn't have pulled into it. That's just me, though. As you can see, the legacy media is crying wolf. They're a bunch of chicken littles running around saying that the sky is falling. But when you take a look at it, the sky is still up there, isn't it?